We begin with our NFL power rankings, or as I like to call this segment, is anyone actually good? And we will get to that at the end of them. A lot of bad, a lot of very bad on our power rankings today. Let's start with it. At the bottom, we've had Houston there for the past few power rankings. No longer will we put the Houston Texans as the worst team in the NFL. They got the win, we'll reward them for a week. They'll probably end up back down there at the end, but it's Washington. For me, I think this is a dreadful football team on both sides of the football, and I think they're screwed in a number of different ways. And it's interesting because you look at the teams here down at the bottom. My bottom five: Washington, Pittsburgh, Houston, Carolina, Arizona. Maybe not necessarily where they will finish in the standings, but that is how I have them in the bottom five. And we have talked before about how this is an NFL draft that is going to be good for teams that need quarterbacks. Washington, probably. Pittsburgh, interesting, because they just drafted a quarterback in the first round. So you're probably not going with another backup quarterback, but say they get one. Say they get pick of the litter. Do they get a quarterback back-to-back years? Or do they flip that pick to, say, a Detroit or someone like that, an Atlanta, a team that is looking for that next guy? I think it'd be really interesting. Houston, they probably do that. Davis Mills, I don't think is it. Carolina desperately does. Arizona, though. Do they? We've already seen they've traded a quarterback once before who they drafted high in the first round. They probably don't. They probably don't, and they probably shouldn't. If we were to rank the quarterbacks in the NFL draft plus Kyler Murray probably goes one. But holy shit, that team is a dumpster fire. Kingsbury has one foot out the door. You have, like, you saw last week what everyone's talking about with a lack of awareness for Kyler Murray and his late game situation where he slides down. Sorry, it's Cliff Kingsbury. Kyle Kingsbury is a UFC fighter, or former one. Anyway, but Cliff Kingsbury, 1 foot out the door. Kyler Murray slides in the dying moments of the game, short of a first down, and then spikes the ball, setting up a 43-yard field goal that they missed. Arizona is a dumpster fire. I don't think the quarterback is the only issue there, though. It is interesting, though. Like, you look at some of these teams at the bottom. Washington, I think that they have some issues. Pittsburgh, on the defensive side of the ball, if they get TJ Watt back, like, there is some talent on this team to kind of build around. Carolina, we've talked about it before. They have the foundation set. They just need the quarterback. I think the quarterback is actively holding them back this season. They get a good one in there. They could be a team to watch out for. Holy crap. Arizona, I think, has the pieces there. They just, maybe need someone a bit more sturdy at the helm. But anyway, enough about them. Detroit at 27, it has all come crashing down with a 29-0 loss against the New England Patriots, who we are going to be talking about momentarily. Detroit is now 1-4 in the NFC North, and any talk about, the Lions, hey, the Lions might be able to actually do something. The Lions aren't going to be able to do anything. Their one win came against who we believe is the worst team in the NFL in Washington. They have a bye this week. At Cowboys, that's a loss. Home Dolphins, that's a loss. Home Packers, that's a loss. At the Bears, it could be a win. At Bears, could be a win. So congratulations there, Detroit Lions, for potentially getting something going there. Good for you. We're so happy for you. Anyway, Vegas coming in at 26. That was a really bad loss. They've had a few where they just shouldn't have lost, and this is definitely the Raider homer in me. Like, hey, look, it's 1-4, but it's an impressive 1-4. I mean, come on, I definitely sound like a Raider homer. But coming into the bye, that game against Kansas City, they were up by a bunch, blew the lead, had the ball late, just about connected on a play that would have got them into field goal range, and then a bit of a mix-up on that play to the left side that ends up costing them the game. They beat the Broncos. They lose by 2 to the Tennessee Titans on a missed 2-point conversion, which they didn't really deserve to win that game. They probably should have beat Arizona. They just took their foot off the gas, and they had a chance to beat the Chargers in week 1. Like, they have been in every game. Coming up, they are home against the Texans. I think that can be a win. At the Saints, that's probably a loss. At Jacksonville, home Colts, at Broncos, at Seahawks are all kind of interesting games going forward, but this team, I don't think talent-wise they are the 26th worst in the NFL. I just think there's been a little bit of luck not on their side. Speaking of teams that are way more talented than their ranking, Denver at 25. This should not be a team that's at 2-3, but they just can't move the ball on offense. Russell Wilson is clearly limited as a quarterback, and Nathaniel Hackett is clearly limited as a coach. Seriously, play Madden. You'll learn a lot about in-game situations. The Bears at 24, they're quite bad and will probably move down if a couple of these, like talent-wise, the Bears just aren't there. They very well could be in the race for the worst team in the NFL. Atlanta has come back down to earth, or at least my opinion of them has. New England with a great win. Hey, you moved up into the top 25. I still don't believe in this football team going forward, and I think the quarterback's an issue. I think the defense is an issue. I think their skill position players, aside from Ramondre Stevenson, are issues. Ergo, I think this team has a bit of a problem. So I'm not high on New England right now. Cleveland, everywhere but the quarterback looks really good. And I know they're getting a talented piece of shit back at the quarterback position. But right now, like they're losing games that they just shouldn't be losing. They should have won that game. I mean, they shouldn't have been put in the opportunity to win that game against the Chargers, but then they should have taken advantage and gone on and won that game. It is week 12 that, it's week 13 that Deshaun Watson is able to come back against the Houston Texans, I believe. One of those two. Anyway, they still have coming up on their schedule here against the Patriots. Oh my God. At the Ravens, they'll get murdered. Home Bengals, Cincinnati should win that game. Then it's a bye. Then at Dolphins, at Bills, home against the Buccaneers. So they could be in a position because their back part of their schedule is actually pretty light. At Texans, at Bengals, home Ravens, but then Saints, at Washington, at Pittsburgh to close the year. Cleveland can make a bit of a push here at the end. Indianapolis is at 20. I just don't think they're very good. I just don't think they're very good. Jacksonville at 19. Again, the air has kind of come out of those sails after back-to-back really bad showings. They'll probably get bumped down a little bit further on as this goes on. I have Seattle at 18. I kind of wanted to put them higher, but just couldn't quite get them any higher than this. Geno Smith has looked legit, and he has looked like he is the real deal. And I think the rest of this team is actually okay. We will see what happens when they start to play a bit more difficult competition. And even like this last week, they lost. But Geno Smith has looked good. And that still doesn't mean they don't draft a quarterback next year. But Geno Smith has looked all right. The upcoming schedule for Seattle, they're against the Cardinals this weekend. I like Seattle. They're at the Chargers. I don't like Seattle. Home against the Giants. I might pick Seattle in that one. Then at Chargers, at Tampa Bay before their bye, and then they host the Raiders coming up on November 27th. Coming up in the number 17 spot. Actually, you know what? We're going to take our quick break here and come back with a few teams that are kind of lumped together in the I don't know what to make of you category, but everyone else really sucks. Wordy title for the category. We'll workshop it and come back. The music that you hear on Couch Potato Diary is provided by Wasted Talent. Find them on Instagram at Wasted Talent with X's where the A's would be, and find their producer on Instagram at Tommy Fresh Music. All right, so this clump of teams that I didn't know what to do with. The Jets at 17, the Saints at 16, the Giants at 15, the Titans at 14, the Packers at 12, the Bengals at 11, the Dolphins at 9, the Dolphins at 11, Rams at 10. I think that's kind of the tier there. I have no idea what to do with any of these teams. Because none of them. The Rams should not be a top 10 team, but I have them as a top 10 team. Miami shouldn't be 11. Cincinnati, the way they've played, shouldn't be 12. Green Bay, on down the line. The Jets do not have the 17th most talented roster in the NFL. They're probably down around 25, 26. But it's just how things have kind of gone this year that it's played out this way. I don't buy anything from any of these teams, but you have to put some of them somewhere. When we're ranking 32 teams, you literally have to put each team in a different spot, and there's just been so much bad and so much average this season that these teams that I think are below average that have kind of played above their weight a little bit, or in a couple of cases with the Rams and Cincinnati, a couple of teams where I think they should be better than they are and have kind of played down a little bit. I think that there might be a little bit something like it's tough to group them all together. And looking at this again, I shouldn't have the Rams as high. I should have them probably below Miami, Cincinnati, and Green Bay. But then, like, are they better than the Tennessee Titans? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about many of these teams. Like, there's just such a group of just on a week-to-week basis that it makes kind of putting these lists a little bit difficult. But again, to recap, I have the Jets at 17, New Orleans coming off of their big win at 16. I get the Giants are 4-1, and I get that they just beat the Green Bay Packers, but I just simply don't buy them. They're at 15. Tennessee, I really don't buy either. They beat the worst team in the league. That's great. They're at 14. Green Bay coming in at 13. It is Cincinnati at 12. Cincinnati, by the way, I think the bloom is off the rose with Zach Taylor. I think he is actively holding this team back now. Miami would definitely be higher if there weren't the injuries at the quarterback position, and then the Rams at 10. I have the Chargers at 9. Speaking of a coach that is holding them back, this team just needs to be unleashed by a smart coach, and they do not have that right now. Tampa Bay at 8. Again, I don't think they're all that great. Their defense is legit, but I still have concerns about this team going forward. But again, they're 8th because there isn't just a whole lot of great in this league. Dallas is at 7. Good for them for picking up like that. That is a good win against the Rams, but I think that told us more about the Rams than it does the Cowboys. At 6, I have San Francisco, and looking at this again, maybe I could get them higher because I do like basically everything about this team. At 5, I have Minnesota. They're 4-1. And at 4, I have Baltimore. I get they're only 3-2, and I have them above a number of teams that have better records than them. I just think, again, this is a very talented football team that is starting to get things figured out. And then you have the 3 good teams in the league: Kansas City, Buffalo, and Philadelphia. Those are the class, and I have them ranked that way. Luckily, we get 2 teams in the top 3 facing each other this week, and we have 2 matchups of teams in the top 10, with Philadelphia taking on Dallas a little bit later on Sunday. So this is, it should be probably the best NFL week we've had in weeks, but it just, the main thing is there is very little separating awful, or the bottom anyway, from the middle, from like the above average, or what should be the above average slots. After you get to 3, you can make a lot of cases for a lot of teams in a lot of different spots. That this is parity, like it or not. This is parity.